have a guest with us, Jack Smith Sr., and he's going to talk about his experience being an organ recipient. Thank you so much, and good afternoon, Jack. Thank you for being here and joining us. Um, so, talk to us about um, what was your experience when you were first told that you needed an organ?
Well, first, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. Um, so, I was diagnosed officially with primary biliary cirrhosis of the liver in 2015. After years of suffering, if you will, I don't know, I had jaundice, itchy skin, just so many different symptoms that all related to an issue with my liver, but was not officially diagnosed until 2015. Um, and that was based upon my son kind of stopping me in my tracks saying, "Dad, your eyes look like eggs, they're
Wow.
yellow." And it made me stop and just, my wife had already kind of WebMD, Google MD, she's like, "It's your liver, it's something."
Wow.
And so, hearing that and then, trying to put that into perspective because I was pretty much advocate working out and just doing all kinds of different things. I was doing a lot work-wise in the community and things. And I guess to hear, you're sick or something might be wrong was just something I try to stay away from because I always try to present a different image in front of my family and things like that, like everything's together, if you will. But once I was diagnosed, every symptom that was related to liver disease I had. And so once I was finally diagnosed, it really changed my life. It changed everything that I was doing because I was finally told what I could and could not do and what I needed to do in order to get better. So my diagnosis when they first finally diagnosed me in 2015 through the Cleveland Clinic, they really helped me to start living a life of awareness of my surroundings and things that I was doing. And not that it was anything that I could prevent from a liver disease. Once you have that, I still feel as if I do. Even though I'm a recipient, I always feel like I am, I'm very conscious of my liver issue, and I live every day to make sure that I stay healthy.
Okay, and so you're diagnosed, and so fortunately you had your family.
Yes.
So and then your wife sounded like she was an advocate for you, so that helps as well. So what's the process? So you go to the hospital, and what are you learning during that process? Like as far as okay, when do I get a liver? Am I going to get one? What waiting list? Who are you in communication with primarily? Because MOTEP is an education organization, and they so it brings awareness that about organ and tissue donation and transplant. But what's the experience, and what are you going through when you actually need the organ with the hospital?
Yes, and I'm so thankful to Motep and Linda. We've worked together before. So for me, just to give a little background, a little bit more, when I was finally diagnosed, I didn't go in and say, "Oh, I have a liver issue." I went in because again, my son made me very, I should say, once he stopped me in my tracks and said, "Dad," like he held me and said, "Dad," that's when I said, "Okay, let me get this together." So my wife said, "Let's make an appointment she said, "We need to make an appointment with the liver."
Wow.
Specialist. She's like, "Go through Cleveland Clinic." We started looking. And so we found someone. And so we made an appointment. Once I went in and I was jaundiced, and immediately the doctor was like, "Oh, you're yellow, you're jaundiced.
Wow.
Have you looked at your eyes? Have you looked at your back?" And things like that. And I'm like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Let's get you tested. We have to do a biopsy of your liver." She's like, "Everything that we're seeing here, all the things that you are describing are associated with liver disease." And so they scheduled a biopsy for me, and that took a little bit. I had to get into a system for that. So once I had the biopsy where they took a portion of the liver to examine to see exactly what was wrong, that's when everything was officially diagnosed.
Okay.
And then they tried to do things to prevent a full transplant. Like I had stents put in to try and relieve some of the pressure from the biliary tract leading to the liver to try to help things flush more, because that's what was happening. My body was reacting to not having proper flushing or draining, if you will, of my biliary tract leading to my liver. something that just came about. Primary biliary cirrhosis is a disease that, you know, it's like something that you can't do. I was one. The doctor said I was one of the ones that's just chosen to have it.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
now we have to figure out how we can manage it and get you better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's normally found in Northern European, Caucasian. But I was just one of those who had it. So once I was officially diagnosed, and then they tried to put the stents in and things to relieve some of that pressure, and it was not working. That's when I went on the donor list.
Okay.
And that's how they worked for me to find a donor. So I officially went on the donor list. I can't remember the exact date, 2015, 2016, but I didn't have my transplant until 2018. So I was on.
Oh, wow. And so what are you doing during that time that you're waiting? Because that sounds like a long time. That sounds like a lot of stress to know that you need an organ and then you're hoping you get one. What is that? What are you doing during those 2 years, 2.5 years that you're waiting?
So for me, in my belief, praying, just staying positive, keeping a positive attitude, because it was always important for me to remain positive in front of my wife and my children, even though there was many times where I just did not know if I'd wake up the next day, or how the next minute would be. Very, very tiring days. I remember being very exhausted, very tired, which is a symptom of it as well. So while I was waiting, I was dealing with all the side effects of and symptoms that were related to it. Even though they had inserted the, I mean, I need a little personal. They had like a bag and things, and I had mastered how to cover it up. A lot of people didn't know. I was wearing my suits and things like that, and yet having a bag to drain. So I had to learn how to adapt to that, and being very mindful of things and where I was and different things, because I was living with something that I could be infected. And so as I was waiting, I just started reading a lot more and learning more about the disease, about the liver, how it can regenerate. So in addition to that, my wife tested to be my living donor.
Oh, okay.
So because you can have a transplant quicker with a living donor, as opposed to waiting for someone to be your donor. So long story short, she tested so much to the point where doctors were like, "Are you all related?" I mean, we had the same blood type, everything.
Wow.
So very thankful to my wife. She's a caregiver beyond, and so I got worse. I got more and more sick. Progressively, it got worse, and so I ended up not. She could not be my living donor. She ended up being my caregiver because they found a donor after a while. But the process waiting, it was just really making sure that I was taking care of myself. They had some restrictions on things that I could not do anymore. Not that I was doing anything out of the ordinary, but I had to be very careful to keep myself away from stressful situations, be mindful of the situation that I was in. I just also had to make sure that I was just informed on things that could trigger different things within my liver. I watched things I was eating. I changed my drinking habits to more water. I drank water, but I became an avid, water drinker then. I stayed away from different pops and things like that. I just started changing my diet, trying to do things that I could do on my end to help the situation while I was waiting. And again, learning more about it. I will say they put me through a lot as far as being prepared for transplant. There's a lot of things you have to do. You have to be, you go through evaluations. There's psychologists, you see dermatologists, all kinds of things, because once you have the transplant, you have to watch things like the sun. I'm more susceptible to skin cancer. So I had to learn a lot. My family had to learn a lot, how to take care of me, how to be around me even. I got to watch colds, so many different things. So I had to learn a lot. So while I was waiting, it was every day was a learning experience, and still tried to work every day.